Hi, everyone. This is Barb Bruno, and I want to welcome you to a very special call today. And normally, when we do our first calls of every month, that is an owner manager call. But today, I'm bringing an expert to address you. His name is Jay Ramos. I've known Jay for many years, and Jay is one of those people that I highly respect. And I think you know that I never bring anybody to my training clients unless I have a very high level of respect and see value in the information they're going to share. I want to tell you a little bit about Jay. He began his staffing career in 2000, actually as an intern for the company that he is now a partner in. Over the years, he became a recruiter, and then he was so good at building long-term relationships with the clients, he ended up eventually as a senior recruiter, business development manager, division manager, director, and vice president, and now he's a key partner. He also built an offshore recruiting firm in the Philippines that provides a cost-effective, high-quality, flexible sourcing and recruiting services to U.S. staffing companies. And in 2012, he became a partner at Amtec, and currently he's their president. I can tell you, I've had the pleasure of training Jay's team in the Philippines, and they're amazing. You know, it's funny because it's like midnight their time. And I have to tell you a little bit about Jay because he's in the Philippines often. He really takes care of his team. And when horrible weather conditions and that happen in the Philippines that can just wipe people out, Jay has facilities where they can spend the night there. He provides food. I mean, he really takes care of these offshore recruiters. These offshore people are not people that Jay doesn't know. He treats them with the same level of care and nurturing and love and respect that he does for his internal team in the States. And he's the only person that I know that does that. I'm currently training offshore teams in Vietnam, in India, and several other places. And I can tell you that most of these offshore teams do not have that guidance. And I asked Jay when we started, have you been there to see your people? And he goes, absolutely. Traveling's a little scary, but he's gone there because he just wanted to reassure them and make sure that they're safe and check that everything is the way it should be. So Jay's also a great family man. I'm connected with him on social media. He's been married to his lovely wife, Christine, for 16 years. He's got a teenage daughter, and he just lives life to the fullest. He surfs, he boats, he swims, he scuba dives, loves to travel, and his joy in what he does it really comes through in the service and the level of the quality of what he does. And that's why I'm bringing him to you, because I know his virtual team. I know Jay as a person. Jay and I have become, business associates and friends throughout the years. And I'm so excited he's here that I'm not going to take another minute. Jay, the floor is yours. And I'm going to log off until, if anybody has questions, by the way, if you have questions, you can type them in the questionnaire. If you go to the control panel on the right, we can open the lines and you can ask Jay questions, or you can type in questions when he's done. So write down anything that you have. And Jay, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Barb. Thank you so much for the introduction. Thank you, everyone, for joining this webinar and letting me have this opportunity to just tell my story. So pretty much our topic here is why hiring an offshore recruiting partner might be right for your company. So I'm just going to give you a little summary of just my journey of Amtec Global. And so, as Barb said, I do own a staffing company, and we came up with this idea of outsourcing back in 2007. We started with a third-party India outsourcing firm, and we did it for 1 year. They're primarily focusing for our engineering and IT requirements. And when that occurred, our team in the U.S. really had a hard time really just kind of adopting having an outsourcing partner. They felt, oh my gosh, we're going to lose our jobs. And so we had to do a lot of change management and understanding like this is going to be a plus for you. We're going to help you spend more time on the phone. We're not going to have you spend hours just sourcing and recruiting, because really the goal of your job as recruiters is to be on the phone, interviewing candidates, managing accounts, closing deals, and going on to the next job. So in 2007, we did the whole outsourcing with India. We actually had a great success, even though with some internal challenges. The model worked. The negative for us when we used India was when we did our candidate feedback and survey, and I'm big on trust. Our candidates came back and said, hey, I'm not really happy with someone who's saying their name is Bob, and I know their name isn't Bob. It was just really a heavy accent. And so that for me was just a big trust factor problem for us. So in 2008, my partner, his brother is a FedEx pilot, and said, "Hey, I heard you guys doing this outsourcing model. Have you looked at the Philippines? They're an up-and-coming Philippine call center area." So just how me and my partner are, we ended up taking a flight to the Philippines. I'm Filipino, and call some family and friends and say, "Hey, let's see if this is true." And currently, that moment, Philippines was in an up-and-coming, like probably about 100 BPOs or outsourcing companies in the Philippines. And so we ended up buying a small call center with 5 employees in 2008, and they were a call center. Really, we taught them how to source and recruit, and then pretty much with the help of Barb Bruno, my friend and everything, and we said, "Hey, I need help training, because myself, this is, as much as I'm a good recruiter, salesperson, training is still not my forte, and I wanted someone from an expert from an industry so that our team can feel really confident of being a good U.S. recruiting or equivalent to a U.S. recruiter." So we pretty much had Barb Bruno for almost a year have video conference calls with every one of our core team members and do hands-on training with them, from scripts to role playing to just even motivation talks. And it was great. And our team just exploded after that year. So today we're currently at 36 recruiters and 10 sourcers. We're supporting technical, manufacturing, financial, healthcare, and administrative and light industrial industries. We're located in the prime area of the Philippines, which is Bonifacio Global City. It looks like New York City, Times Square area in the Philippines. It's a really amazing scene to see. Our team is nationwide. We support Pacific, Central, and Eastern regions. And pretty much we always have dedicated teams for any of our accounts. So we do not share any of our teams to multiple accounts. The whole idea of our model is we're helping you build your own offshore team. So this is just our story. I'm not here to sell it. I just wanted to kind of give you my journey of having a chance to build this opportunity, learn the pluses and minuses of offshoring. So what can you outsource? So most commonly for recruiting, sourcing is the most easiest one for recruiting. Let someone look at the job boards. Let someone take all the job posting resumes that come through. Let them screen visually. Let them input them into your ATS system. Let them skill code them. Let someone really start developing more of a pipeline and pool of candidates to effectively have your team use their database better. The second one is just initial screening. Lots of times you see a lot of recruiters making 50 dials a day and they only talk to 3 people. It's really inefficient in my mind. So my idea of this is, hey, let's have a Philippine team have a folder of 50 candidates every day. They're going to be calling, texting, emailing, and connecting with those candidates and doing first initial screenings as simple as, "Hi, are you looking to make a move in this year? Are you looking to move to your next opportunity? Are you open to speaking with a recruiter?" And we do pretty much an introduction to a U.S. recruiter to do a final interview and see where they best fit. The second is VMS recruiting. VMS has really been a big market today. I never thought it would grow to where the size it is today, and the margins are tighter. And then you find out U.S. recruiters don't want to work on VMS jobs because time to deliver, low margin, it's just too much work and not enough reward. So I've seen the model where you've got more, you can offshore all of your VMS accounts to an offshore firm, and they will be able to manage it directly, submit to the clients, have account managers deal with the candidates and the MSP people and work through it. In the direct hire side, we've actually even seen this go farther from our team, is to go full cycle recruiting. So have a sales rep bringing in the jobs, being the rainmaker, best way to describe it, and having a recruiting partner or two to source and recruit candidates constantly so that they can honestly focus on the sales and let the outsourcing team screen, source, pre-screen candidates, profile them, get them submitted to your clients, facilitate interviews, negotiates pay, and close. Those are really, I think, one of the best things from a direct hire standpoint. And then my favorite, administrative support. I think a lot of recruiters think they're busy by doing a lot of admin work sometimes. And so it's a lot cheaper to outsource something as simple as formatting resumes, cleaning up your database, setting up lists. I think these are just easy things that you can outsource. So I want to talk about the myths. There's a lot of myths in offshoring. So one of them first is offshore recruiters underperform their U.S. peers. So in my example of my story is we have currently recruiters right now who are generating about 500,000 in gross margin on a split GP. And so currently today, and it's like not many U.S. recruiters get to that level. So I think from a demand-wise, or from a motivational-wise, they really push themselves. They really stay focused. They really are customer-centric. So they really want to please you as the owner, as a customer, as a manager, and they want to succeed. So it really pushes that team really well. Next is offshore recruiters are low-cost destination, bad infrastructure, like today. When I went in the Philippines, there was roughly only about 100 outsourcing companies. Today, there's 700 outsourcing companies in the Philippines today. I was literally, where our office is, we had Google, American Express, Uber, every kind of .com company outsourcing some kind of recruiting function, some kind of administrative support, some kind of call center. And so to me, it feels like from an infrastructure, the country is building more for outsourcing companies, the U.S. companies to come in and outsource in the Philippines. And as Barb said, other countries are starting to adopt that same model. I've seen Vietnam as the next one. I've seen South Africa as the next one. I've even seen South America as one. So I think the global world infrastructure today is everyone's going to be outsourcing some portion of their job today. Next is offshore recruiters have poor communication. For me, in the Philippines is the third largest speaking country in the world. I've pretty much joked about it because when I first went to the Philippines, I was like, I don't really understand the Tagalog. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, you're going to have such tough accents. And when they literally have a conversation with us, it was like, wow, we're having pretty much a good formal conversation. And so one of the things we did as a training thing, especially to improve their English communication, is we made the team watch Friends. So because of slang, we wanted them to get a little bit more jive from either East Coast jive, a Central jive, or even I call it my West Coast is, hey, what's up, dude? We wanted them to have a little bit more fun with their English communication because they're very proper. And so for me, I think that it's such a myth to say that offshore recruiting has poor communication. Offshore recruiters are high-risk hires. You know, I think recruiting is always a high risk in a sense. For me, when we opened up our office in the Philippines, we literally heard that, hey, you're going to have an attrition of 1 year. Every team member is going to only stay for 1 year. And I thought, what's wrong with that model? Like, that shouldn't be true. If we're in the people business, how do you change that? And so for us, in my model, in my organization, I really believed in, hey, let's bring love, care, and accountability into our organization. And I think that's what really changed the difference for me and my offshore firm is if you could give them respect, give them care, and a really high accountability, they'll see value in it, and they'll see, wow, they really care for me, and they don't believe I'm just a call center, I'm just a number. And it pretty much, for us, our average year of employment is 4 years, and my current 5 that Barb trained are still with me today for 12 years. So for me, I broke the norm, and I thought, wow, that's an awesome story for us. It definitely broke the myth and said, hey, you're going to have high-risk recruiters who are going to leave. I never thought that ever again. Top reasons to use offshore recruiting. For me, scaling your business. You know, it costs so much to hire internally to scale your business. U.S. recruiters today are averaging 40 to 60K a year base salary. And so for you to scale your business, the cost and CapEx is just so extreme, where currently you can go into the Philippines or into any offshore company and probably go a 3-to-1 to a U.S. So pretty much hire 3 offshore recruiters for 1 U.S. And that, to me, gives you an opportunity to more bandwidth, more scalability, and it's also very flexible. So I think that's one of the good parts about how offshore recruiting really helps is if, like, let's just say today you wanted to move into a different territory, a different vertical, a different region, you can literally start with, let's hire an offshore team for 1 to 3 months, pipeline candidates, get them in our database, get them ready to profiled and ready to go move forward to clients as you move on. And that just is so much cheaper than it is from the U.S. standpoint of building. You can stack your team with specialized skill sets. Like I said today, we broke our team really into different verticals where you can be a technical recruiter, you can be a clerical recruiter, you can be a healthcare recruiter, and you can be an accounting and finance recruiter. And so when you start specializing, I think this is really comes from Barb's training, is like focus, right? It's no fun for having one recruiter who could jump across 3 or 4 different industries. because you never really get good at the talent pool. You really don't get to know your industry. You don't really get to know the skill sets really well. This to us has really been a way to just kind of expand our client's business and even my own business. Like my team today, for me, for my staffing company, we specialize that so that it definitely has some legs behind it, some bandwidth, and we can move forward. Cost is really always the big thing for me. Again, if you're in California like we are, the minimum salary for or minimum exempt salary for a U.S. person or California person is going to be $58.40 starting January 1. So I'm thinking, literally, to put anyone on a salary, I'm going to have to pay $54,000. This is crazy. So the average recruiter and then most offshore recruitings range from $1,000, $1,500 to $2,500. So you can really see the cost savings tremendously. Flexibility and control. For me, flexibility is really the big thing because I love the ability from an offshore standpoint is that you can turn this on and turn it off. I think any firm, any recruiting or staffing firm really benefits from flexibility because sometimes you have an influx of jobs, sometimes you don't. And sometimes you just need you need that extra bandwidth to move the things forward. Control-wise, this is the best part from control is as a partner for recruiting, you have to have service level agreements. You have to set metrics, standards, expectations. We currently today are expecting that we get 8 to 10 submits as a goal. Our minimum, like you can fire us, is 6. And I think if any time you choose an offshore recruiting, you set those service level agreements set. You want to have daily conversations. You want to have constant management and reporting so you know where the progress is going with your team. And you want to treat any offshore partner as your team. Never treat them as a vendor. I think that's the worst thing to do. It's because our business is people. We want to have that relationship. We want to have them feel part of our team. They want to be congratulated for their successes. They want to be recognized for even just their failures and constructive feedback so they know how to get better. I think that helps tremendously for an offshore partner. Challenges. So there's always goods and bads, right? So challenges of offshore recruiting. The first one for me was understanding the language and cultural difference. So when we first came out in 2008, everyone was so nice. But when you have some language barriers or cultural differences and how you manage and have conversations with them, it relates differently. One of my favorite comments everyone says to me is when you give them a direction, they say noted. And I'm thinking, does noted really mean that you understand what I said? It's more of just acknowledging, yes, I did, but then really you actually have to dive deeper. From a cultural standpoint of a difference is, hey, explain that back to me. Tell me what you heard so that we make sure that you understand what I said. So when we go over job orders with any of our partners or any of our accounts, I make sure we repeat it. And I want to understand, you tell us what's the right person of this job? What do you understand about this industry? How do you know what's perfect for this job? And really get some definition. Working on the different time zone. For me, being in the Philippines constantly, hardest thing for me was working nights. Like you live the zombie life. So currently today, it's 9 o'clock U.S. time here, or Pacific Standard Time. It is 1 a.m. over there. And it's a little rough. So you definitely have some team members who end up getting a little sick because your body is working late. And so I think sometimes, depending on how your offshore structure or partner is going to structure it, is to make sure you have backups. For me, we always have backups. We always have team members to try to help support any kind of delay or anybody gets sick. Everyone's human. We understand that. One of the things we do to help for us on the on the time zone difference, our office is, I joke, looks like Google. We have sleep rooms, we have nap rooms, we have little pods to just kind of hang out and just rest your eyes because it is a tough time to work that late shift. You wake up and it's all of a sudden it's 10 o'clock in the morning there. Your body says, I should be sleeping because I just worked a long day. Your body says, you should stay up, and you're going to end up sleeping late. And that really happens. And those are some struggles that you see sometimes. Aligning company expectations. This is where I hear from a lot of offshore recruiting partners is when they're working with clients is they don't really set expectations. They pretty much overpromise and underdeliver sometimes. They say, look, I've got a recruiter offshore who can help support filling your IT jobs. And we can submit 10 candidates every week. And I'm going, Do you understand the pipeline? Do you understand where these candidates from? Do you have a database? Do you have to build a database? And aligning those expectations is really important when any of you are choosing a recruiting partner, because again, even with Barb Bruno saying like, there's going to be 700 potential offshore recruiters in India that she's training, they're going to probably say, hey, I can service U.S. staffing companies. And so setting expectation, aligning that is so important for picking the right recruiting partner. Communicate constantly. I think, again, for us, we have every week we have a check-in. We have even the Wednesday hump day check-in to make sure that we always align with what jobs are priority. We always give up daily reporting so they know how many candidates did any of their recruiters call, what are their successes, what are their challenges. So the more you over-communicate, the better your success will happen. I see that constantly where I gave them the jobs and literally 2 weeks later, we have no submits. So it's like, you're supposed to communicate with your recruiter. You're supposed to have some conversations. You're supposed to hear some challenge. If they were in your U.S. office, you would do the same thing. You try to, again, adopt that onshore, offshore presence the same way. Monitor and track progress with tools. For us, for our teams, we give access to everyone our dashboard so that anytime you can see your recruiter, what time they're calling, how many calls they had in the day, what location they're calling from a geo-targeting, and then you can see their submits, interviews, and kind of progress week over week or day over day. This is real-time progress that we offer to any of our clients. I would always, if you're going to choose an offshore recruiting partner, make sure you have that monitoring and tracking progress tools in place, because it's no fun to just look off Google Sheets. It gets kind of edited and crazy. So I'm going to talk a little bit about a couple case studies. These are some that we've done before, and again, just maybe some examples if you guys are feeling the same way with any of your kind of challenges. So currently, one of the issues that we found. Oops, sorry, here I'm trying to move something here. Staffing company was looking to increase the productivity of their recruiters by reducing the amount of time they need to spend sourcing, so they can spend more time interviewing and placing candidates. So after talking the solution that we had offered to them is,
Jay, your audio went off, Jay. Jay, are you there?
sorry.
That's okay. I just want to make sure you're there. Okay. If you could review what you did in the last minute or so, you went off. Jay, are you there again?
Is that better? Barb, can
Yes,
you hear me?
I got you. Okay, I've got you back. If you could go back and repeat what you said in the last minute or so, that'd be great.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. So case study number one is the staffing company was looking to increase the productivity of their recruiters by reducing the amount of time they need to spend sourcing so they can spend more time interviewing and placing candidates. So we offered a solution to where let's build a sourcing process and integrate a core team of sourcers into their business process flow, which included their access and usage of their ATS. At that core moment, they were using Bullhorn. And so this staffing company, we really increased their ability of recruiters to say, let's spend more time recruiting and not have to go spend so much time sourcing. So we pretty much had our team pull all the job boards. They gave us access to their Monster, Career Builder, ZipRecruiter, and LinkedIn, and they were scraping all of those sites for this type of skill set, and we would input them into their ATS and then skill code them. I'm lost. Sorry, I'm having technical difficulty here. I can't move my slide now.
Sorry, the gremlins, the webinar gremlins, right?
Yeah. What happened here?
Try using the arrows in the bottom left. If you're using a mouse or that, sometimes Jay on GoToMeeting, if you go to the arrows on the left-hand side bottom of your slide, maybe that'll make it progress.
Yeah. Uh-oh. Oh, I'm buffering now. Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
I think I got kicked off.
Yeah, all we see now is a white screen. Can you pull it back up and just go from recent slide on the
Yeah,
top slideshow, and then from current slide, it might go back.
sure.
You know what, Jay, your information is so good. Why don't you just keep going? You know, they don't need a slide because we're going to give them the recording of this after. So why don't you
Okay,
just keep going, and then we'll give them, they'll have a recording of all of this when you're done.
perfect. Sounds good. So again, with the results, pretty much we had recruiters using the offshore candidate sourcing, and we averaged, the U.S. recruiters average 50% more placements per month by having a offshore sourcing team dedicated to them. For each dollar they spent on offshore recruiting and services, the staffing company actually averaged $4 in gross margin from the placements. So we really felt like, wow, this is kind of one of the great case studies that can kind of just show, look, the offshoring is a great model. And again, I'm not here to sell my organization. I'm just a big fan of offshoring, and I think it's a great addition to a business model for staffing and direct hire recruiting firms. So case study number 2 here is we have clients. Client was currently is currently seeing more clients go to a VMS recruiting solution, which was resulting into a compressed margin. It made it more difficult for the company to be profitable in their profitable targets, and that's just honestly because of their cost of U.S. recruiters, their compensation program, and they couldn't make it work. So the client wanted to drive higher volume, lower complexity, and lower the cost of full cycle recruiting resources. So the solution we offered was, let's build offshore recruiters. So they're going to source, screen, submit candidates all through the VMS portals in all the higher volume categories. So they even still had the U.S. recruiters still work on those VMSs, but they just took the more lower volume and higher margin ones. So it was a really good team effort there. They currently use 3 recruiters to start this program, and the results was we were able to exceed the performance level of the internal recruiters and dramatically lower their costs by 68%. So again, I'll repeat that: lowering your cost of recruiting by 68%. They increased their team to 6 recruiters in 3 months after they've seen that performance in the first 3 months. And today, we currently have an entire team just for them dedicated to their one VMS account. And it's just been a phenomenal program for them and just speeding up their growth as an organization. So I'll give you an example just of performance and expectations that I set for our offshore recruiting. I think these are great questions and what you should ask any offshore partner, what they're able to perform. So on average, our call time for all of our Philippine recruiters is 25 hours a week. I even joke sometimes, if you don't monitor your hours, you should monitor it in the U.S. And I'll be honest, some of even our U.S. recruiters can't get to 25 hours a week. They always say, I'm on the phone, I'm always doing it. And when we look at their call records, they're never at that pace. The average currently, the number of submits per week for contract jobs is 20 candidates a week. That's pretty much on average on all of our offshore recruiting who focus on contract jobs. The average number of submits per direct hire jobs is 8 candidates per week. And currently, we have 5 recruiters hitting $400,000 to $600,000 in GM a year, with a total cost of $45,000 a year. U.S. recruiters spend more time doing more account management, final interviews with candidates, and getting new business. And that's kind of how we kind of adopted the U.S. and offshore model. And then U.S. recruiters can effectively manage today about 20 to 30 jobs at any given time with an offshore sourcing or recruiting partner.
Jay, can I interrupt you for just a minute? I have several people telling me that all they're seeing is a white screen. There's a power with the PowerPoint slides, so I asked Jay to go ahead without the slides. And what we'll do is we'll put the slide deck in when we give you the handouts after the call. So you'll get the recording and the slide deck, but just listen to him and take notes, and you'll get this after the call. So I'm very aware that there's just a white slide. Sorry, Jay, go ahead.
Sorry about that. So at this time now, really that's kind of our performance and examples, kind of opening up for some questions for you.
Okay, we've got a bunch of questions, Jay. And again, we apologize for the last couple of slides, but I think you see the value of the presentation. And so we've got several questions. I want to go at the very beginning, Jay, and start with the first one. What telephone platform do you use for calling and texting?
For calling and text, for calling first, we're using a voice over IP. It's through a company called SkyTel. They're out in Portland. They do both our U.S. and our international. So pretty much what happens is all of our phone systems, every Philippine recruiter has what's called, I forgot the terminology. I'm sorry, but I should ask this. The example is if I'm in the Philippines, my phone will dial based on the local number that I'm trying to reach. So if I'm looking to call California, it's going to look like a 323-310 number. If I was going to call, I think it's Texas or Georgia, a 513 number, it will make them look like a local dialer. There's the number. It's called a local dialer, so that when all of our team members are reaching out, it looks like they're a local recruiter, not some kind of random number.
Or not an 800 number, which is great. Another question, within healthcare, what areas of staffing and recruiting does your team have experience with?
So primarily they've been very focused in the home care area, LVNs and RNs. Nothing, we really have not touched in anything in the physicians area like that. We've definitely been in the case management area, workers' comp area stuff. But again, physicians, doctors, we have never been in that space.
Right. And those of you that want to place physicians, what I want to say to all of you, because I speak at the National Association of Physician Recruiter, the average physician takes 10 to 11 months to close a direct hire on a physician, just so you understand what's involved. And the fee is between $25,000 and $30,000, and you don't close it, the attorneys do. So think about that, because everybody wants to get into medical right now, and there's a lot of credentialing and a lot of things involved. And so before you jump in, bring those questions to our coaching calls. Okay, how can this be applied to a small 1 or 2 person recruiting company if a team is applied to each client? This is from Steve.
So for Steve, I think the question, when I say they're dedicated, so for a small recruiting company, 1 or 2, our recruiters are dedicated to just your organization. So if you were looking to say, I just need to outsource one part of my recruiting process, it could be simple as I need to add a little bit more. I at least need someone to call these candidates and get them on the phone and do live transfers for me. That could be one option from an outsourcing. You can say, look, I want to spend more time doing business development. You can have the recruiter who is going to go, I'm going to do full cycle for you. So every day, I need to make sure you have at least 3-4 placeable candidates for me, so I can skill market to my clients. So when we talk about dedicated teams, we don't share recruiters with other organizations. It's your recruiter, and I hope that any offshore partner, that you always make sure you will say, this is my team member. You don't use this person doesn't work for another staffing company while you're working with me.
Okay, which brings me to the next question. We have somebody asking an anonymous question. Do you feel it's a conflict of interest because you own a staffing company? What would prevent you from keeping the best candidates for your firm and not for your offshore outsourcing clients?
Yeah, so one of the things for us is that this is a true non-disclosure agreement and non-compete. So I try to be as transparent. If I have a current client that a customer has, I automatically say, hey, we can't work together just because there's a conflict of interest that we're working on the same jobs. For me, it's an ethical thing, and I'm really big on ethics and trust. I would be a horrible partner if I took the candidates for my own staffing company. So we always, in part of our agreement, says every candidate that we get, we are putting it into your ATS. I am not uploading into my ATS. These are your candidates, so that one just kind of shows that barrier of my staffing company is a customer of my offshore company. So it does not, there's really, to me, is no I try to limit at all any kind of distrust that I think that anyone would feel that I'm taking candidates for my own company.
And just so all of you know, and I think most of you trust me that are on this call today, and I would have never brought Jay to this call. And there's you don't see me bring many other, people that are offering services to the calls to you. The only people I would bring is someone I trust. Jay is one of the most trustworthy, ethical, above board people in our profession that I know. And so I would also give a very strong personal recommendation for him. And there's not a doubt in my mind that he separates and is very ethical. I have somebody asking you, Dave's asking, can you email your SLA and metrics? I'm sure that after this, if you want to reach out to, we will give you Jay's information. And if you want to reach out to Jay, I'm sure that you would be willing to share, obviously, your SLAs and metrics.
Absolutely. And so I'd be happy to share a service level agreement. For most of our metrics, so I have a standard metric that I'll always disclose. This is the metric I have for my offshore team. I have had some occasions where my metrics are too aggressive for my client. And so when we talk about metrics, we definitely want to have that alignment of expectations so that we can say, here's the goal, here's the bare minimum, and anytime we exceed it, that's just hurrah for all of us. And so those clear expectations in our agreement is so important for me because I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver.
Right. Steve wants to know if you have a model for new client marketing, not only candidates, but do you do any marketing for clients?
Yeah, we've tried that, to be honest, in the past, and I think one of the things, because of the culture of the Philippines, the cold calling, lead generation, where they have to call into a company and try to find the right person, never really been a good success. If you're looking for just more of a kind of just to offshore or outsource a function of your marketing to it, like here's the candidate, here's the client list that we have in contacts. Can you do an initial call and do some emails, but they're not selling. The whole idea is really appointment setting. We have that kind of function, but it really, if you're looking to outsource a straight cold call, let them find who the right person is and hunt through it, has not been a success.
And Steve, I want to tell you, I'm training 7 offshore teams right now because we're teaching them not to pitch jobs. That's the problem with most recruiters, are pitching jobs rather than pitching, tell me what you want to do next in your career. And so I've got all these teams. None of them are doing any client marketing. It's all strictly recruiting. Because I agree with Jay. Most of these offshore teams are not good at it. And client development is relationship building. So you're not going to see the metrics you want on the return for the investment you're making because 6 contacts before they know your name. And so because you don't get that instant gratification, but what you need to do in client development is teach your recruiters how to give you leads and then have your in-house team actually, do the client development. So I'm so glad you were honest about that, Jay, because some of the offshore teams have been trying to do it. One offshore team did want me to train them on doing client development. And I basically said to them, I didn't think it would work. And he goes, it never has, but we thought maybe you could teach them how to do it. And I said, not really. So your answer was totally honest and I appreciate it. Okay, if any of you want to talk to Jay direct, you can also go to the control panel on the right. And if you put the telephone number in and the access code and the PIN number, if you click on attendee list, you see your name, you've got that little hand there, and you can click on that hand, and you can also interact with Jay and ask him live if you'd rather do that than type them in. I'm getting all kinds of things asking for your contact information, Jay, and more information. So because we don't have the last slide up, can you at least give them your telephone number if somebody wants to reach out to you before we get this recording out there? So can you give them your email address and contact information, because everybody wants that and we don't have it up on the screen right now.
Sure, no problem. So my direct line is 714-986-5580. My email address is the letter J, Ramos, R-A-M-O-S, at amtec.us.com.
Okay, I want you to repeat both of those again, the phone number and the email address, Jay.
714-986-5580. Email address is the letter J and then Ramos, R-A-M-O-S, at amtec.us.com.
Awesome. I'm getting a lot of thank yous. I'm getting a lot of nobody had any idea, what all is involved in offshore recruiting. It's not something that you've got to take lightly. When you're all looking at your plans for 2021, I think we're all looking at how do we increase revenues and decrease expenses. That was the reason I wanted Jay to address you in the month of December, because as you're doing your budgets for next year and you're looking at your expenses, now is the time when you make these decisions. What are your 6 revenue generating strategies for 2021? One of the revenue generating strategies could be that you're going to budget some money for outsourcing, and it's not going to be immediate gratification. I mean, you've got to look at, not a year, but you've got to give this a few months, to really see some results, budget some money, and then compare it to what you're currently spending. But now is the time when you're looking at, what do I have to do different in 2021? There's still a tremendous shortage of candidates. I don't care about unemployment numbers. You and I both know we're not feeling near the number of job orders and contracts that are sitting on our desks. Imagine your bottom line if you even filled 10% more, 20% more of the business that's sitting on those desks than you are now. Is it worth trying something new? Jay, did you want to add anything? I greatly appreciate you being here. And again, Jay was trying to give you information, and I appreciate it. Whether you use Jay's service or any other service, at least he's educating you on the questions to ask, and you've got to get some sound information from people. But again, I would trust Jay as if he was, as if he worked for me. That's how strongly I feel about Jay Ramos. And that's why I wanted to bring him to all of you. So I'm glad that you loved him. Anything else, Jay, you want to add at the very end?
No, again, I appreciate the time. I think just to reinforce what Barb's saying, a lot of times people are saying, I want to see success in the first month. I think there's always going to be a ramp up. You think of it when you're hiring your own internal staff. You're looking at it on first month is really about behavior and metrics. So have a ramp up. I usually see, I've only seen it a few times where you make your first placement in the first month, but usually you see the placements really come from the efforts in month 2 and month 3. You really are having the synergy, and it's kind of moving forward. So I know that may sound scary having a 3-month commitment, but I think from a true trial, 3 months is really the most honest way to prove if an outsourced recruiting partner is working or not. And again, not here to sell my organization. I'm a big fan of outsourcing, and I think it's just a great addition to our organization. It's really increased our bottom line because of that. And again, we went from being a regional staffing company to a national staffing company because we were able to scale across the U.S. with an offshore team. And honestly, I give a lot of thanks and gratitude to Barb. Every one of our team members goes through the top producer training, and I think it's been a while since we've had Barb do our one-on-ones and video conferencing. So I definitely want to do that again in 2021 as we're trying to scale our organization to doubling up in 2021, just because we see the demand. But again, thank you all for the time. Thank you for hearing my story and listening to me for this hour.
All right, everybody, here's to your success, and let's all make these decisions we have to make. We can't do things the same way we did this year. This year was uncertain and crazy. 2021 is still going to be a little crazy for all of us. And so as owners, we need to sit down now and come up with 6 revenue generating strategies for 2021. That's what all of you need to be doing right now. And possibly outsourcing is one of those. So Jay, again, I really appreciate the information you shared. You were wonderful. And thank you everybody for joining us. And I look forward to make sure you sign up for all the calls in December. We've got some great calls, and make sure you hop on the coaching calls this month, because I'm going to help you set up next year. Thanks everybody. Have a wonderful day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.